As we gather today, we do so with memories fresh from the atrocities in Paris. The indiscriminate murder of people sitting outside a cafe, the slaughter of innocents outside the National Soccer Stadium or at a concert hall, the merciless killing of women, children, and unarmed citizens who only had the crime of living in freedom. Our hearts are broken for the people of France. They are our oldest and first ally, and we're joined together by shared values. Like France, we know the deep sorrow of innocent lives lost due to terrorist brutality. What happened on the streets of Paris on Friday should not have come as a surprise. After all, we've seen ISIS expand its deadly reach in recent weeks to Lebanon, to Egypt, and to Turkey, to say nothing of the daily horrors faced by those who live under their control in Syria, Iraq, Libya, and Afghanistan. This brutal savagery is a reminder of what's at stake in this election. We are choosing the leader of the free world. And if these attacks remind us of anything, it is that we're living in serious times that require serious leadership, and that the free world needs to act. The last 7 years under President Obama have taught us that problems do not take care of themselves in the absence of American leadership. During the State of the Union address, he declared we were stopping the advance of ISIS, and soon they took Ramadi. Last Friday, he repeated the delusion that ISIS is contained just hours before they murdered 129 innocent people in Paris, and hours after they killed dozens in Beirut. America has had enough of empty words, of declarations detached from reality, of an administration with no strategy or no intention to win. Here's the truth you will not hear from our president. We are at war with radical Islamic terrorism. It is the war of our time and a struggle that will determine the fate of the free world. 3 months ago at the Reagan Library, I warned that we need to defeat ISIS, and I outlined a clear and serious strategy to eradicate it. The actions I called for then remain critical. We must unleash the power of our Air Force by removing self-imposed restraints, enforce a no-fly zone, create safe zones in Syria, allow our special operation forces to target terrorist networks, and arm the Kurdish forces. Since the attacks in Paris, the demand for action to stamp out ISIS has rightly grown. The United States should not delay in leading a global coalition to take out ISIS with overwhelming force. As the words of French President Hollande have made clear, the United States will not be alone in galvanizing this global effort. Militarily, we need to intensify our efforts in the air and on the ground. While air power is essential, it cannot bring the results we seek. The United States, in conjunction with our NATO allies and more Arab partners, will need to increase our presence on the ground, the scope of which should be in line with what the military generals recommend, not politicians, to be necessary to achieve our objective. The bulk of these ground troops will come from local forces that we have built workable relationships with. Finally, to take out ISIS, we must end Assad's brutal war against his own people and create a political solution that allows for a stable Syria. If you want to deal with the refugee problem properly, then we need to create a safe and secure Syria. Let there be no doubt, this isn't going to be easy. Some of you in this room will serve on the front lines of that fight against ISIS and against radical Islamic terrorism. You will sign up for an uncertain fate on foreign fields of battle because your country and the cause of freedom are calling you. For generations, American-led alliances, American diplomacy, American military power, and American credibility, defended the peace, and deterred the violent. This is the way forward in our time as well. But for the United States, who's going to help our friends and allies in the Middle East gain the upper hand against radical Islamic terrorists like ISIS, Al-Qaeda, Hamas, and Hezbollah? But for the United States, who will lead the effort to once and for all stop Iran's bid for nuclear weapons capability, its support for terrorism, and its ballistic missile proliferation? But for the United States, Christians, Iranian dissidents, religious minorities, and other persecuted peoples in the Middle East and across the world. Who will be the dependable friend of Israel, standing with them against the worst, if not the United States of America? The fate of millions, the security of our own people, and the cause of freedom itself all depend on the decisions we make in these coming years. Bad things, and sometimes really very bad things, happen when America steps away from hard challenges. It is time for America leadership again, and that leadership requires a change in course.